I received a question from one of our members in the Magnetic Woman Mastery. And I believe this question is very relevant to many people I experience in the dating process nowadays. So the question is, I keep being ghosted. What do I need to change in myself to stop getting the same result? I'm going to repeat one more time. I keep being ghosted. What do I need to change in myself to stop getting the same result? So this is a fantastic question because, as I said, if you try to put yourself out there, dating and try to find your new partner, then to a certain degree, we all experience that, right? And even, in same, trying to find new job, in friendship, and anything to do with human being that, we can experience that. So it's going to take some time to break down these questions, and I strongly recommend you to take note, because if you experience so-called being ghosted, then it's going to be very valuable to you. And before we dive into answering these questions, if you haven't subscribed my YouTube channel, please do so, because according to YouTube, if you're going to subscribe the YouTube channel, give the thumbs up if the video very valuable to you, YouTube likely going to spread the video and the message to many more people. So I'm really, really appreciate. So it's a very small act. Give a thumbs up and subscribe the YouTube channel. Okay, so let's dive in answering this question. I really like this question because she, in the way that reframed the question and take ownership for her actions. Because she said, what do I need to change in myself to stop getting the same result? In here is so-called being ghosted, right? So she owned her actions. What do she need to change? So for that, I really commend her because she take accountability for her action. The fundamental issue when I first raised this question is she focused on what she doesn't want versus what she really wants. So according to the law of attraction, and I'm gonna say it in a very simple way, according to the law of attraction, if you tell the universe, this is what I want, the universe is gonna give more of that thing to you. And if you say, oh, is this thing I don't want, I don't want to be ghosted, I don't want to be cheated, the universe is gonna give more of that thing to you. So instead of focus on what you don't want, okay, you need to train yourself and rewire your mind to focus on what you actually really want in the relationship. So my question to you is, what do you really want in your relationship? And you need to write down, at least have some general idea about what exactly you're looking for, whether you're looking for a committed relationship. So what are you looking for from your partner? Whether they are committed, they are honest, they honor you, they love and appreciate you for who you are, list some general information about exactly what you want. And then in my community, I teach professional women to rewire their brain. So how can you rewire your brain and to support your belief that you can absolutely have a loving relationship? Perhaps you want to listen to loving songs, to the videos that have a beautiful love story from different couples, or you want to surround yourself with couples who have a loving, lasting, and healthy relationship. Do whatever you want, do whatever you can to reinforce and support your belief that you can absolutely have a loving relationship, right? And to some people, they just want to be in a committed relationship. For me, I want to get married. I was looking for a husband. So to support for my belief that I have a loving, beautiful family, I look for different songs, wedding songs. I'm looking for different pictures, love stories, or movies to support that belief. And I can see all around me, there are couples. Have decades of loving, lasting, and healthy marriage. So by doing so, you reinforce your belief that what you looking for are there, right? So to recap the first step, instead of focus on what you don't want, and because the universe is going to give more things that you don't want to do that, okay? You focus on what you really want in the relationship and find the evidence around you to support and reinforce that belief. So that's step number one. Step number two is remove the label of so-called being ghosted. So I'm not really sure what do you mean exactly by being ghosted? Because being ghosted to you could be very different to somebody else. And sometimes people use the language very recklessly. So they generalize the experience and put a label on that experience. So you don't want to do that, because the more you do that, the more you keep accumulate the emotional baggage. And as I mentioned in the previous video, you want to travel light. You don't want to carry all of the emotional baggage from the past or even from the stranger. That's going to slow you down in moving forward. So the purpose of the second step is to remove the label, because I want you to neutralize that experience. So first and foremost, pinpoint exactly what do you mean by being ghosted. Whether that person agreed to go out for the date with you and they didn't show up, right? So you want to write out a specific action that you didn't like and you label them as being ghosted. Or, somebody you send a message and they don't respond. So you need to write out specific actions and what do you mean exactly by being ghosted. So for the sake of clarify these questions and doing this exercise, let's say if you agree to go out for the date with someone, or somebody say, I invite you go out for the date and they didn't show up, right? According to Dr. John Demartini, and he say their law of reflections, meaning whatever we see in others is already inside of us, whether you are aware or not aware, right? So we want to neutralize the emotion and own the traits that we see in others. And the more you own the traits that you see in others, the less react you're going to be. So you want to have that reflective awareness and, okay, I don't like this because, they invite me to the date and they didn't show up. So the first step in this big second step you want to do is you want to find down in your life where and when in your life you have demonstrate the same or similar actions. So let's say if you don't like that person, they agreed to go out with you and they didn't show up. So you want to find out where and where in your life you have demonstrated the same or similar. Where and where in your life you agreed to go out with someone or meet someone and you didn't show up. Simple like that. I'm sure there are occasions like if you agree to join the training and then you have something pop up and you couldn't show up for the training and then you decide that you're not going to tell the trainer. That could be one experience, right? What could be one similar experience? So we all, whatever we see in others, is already inside about. So you want to own that. And the purpose of owning those traits for you to neutralize your emotions and then you less react on how the other people show up. So you keep listing where and when in your life you have demonstrated same or similar actions until you kind of feel, okay, I'm doing that too, right? Because people say if you point your finger to another person, you point 3 fingers on you, right? So you want to own that. And the more you do that, you can see, okay, relatively neutral. I do that too in my life. So that is the second step. You want to break down the label of being ghosted and you own the trait. So that's second step. And now you see, oh, okay, I'm doing that too. So they're not that, they're not that terrible, because as human we have all the traits. That's it, because human, we are messy. So that is the second step. The third step is to set some boundaries or have some guidance in your dating, or principles in this thing, let's say. So for you now, in order to mitigate the risk of showing up to the date and the other people didn't show up, right? And then you waste your time, commute from your home to the restaurant or to the coffee shop. So you want to have some principles in place to mitigate the risk. Perhaps, you before spend time to do the makeup, to dress up, and to commute to the location when you're going to see that person. Maybe you want to check in with them a couple of hours before to confirm again whether they still firm on the date, right? And give them the deadline. Say, okay, please confirm before, let's say, 5 p.m. if you're going to meet them at 7 p.m. So let's say, please confirm before 5 p.m. today if you are still firm on the date. Otherwise, I'm gonna have other plans. So you need to give them a deadline. And if they don't respond before 5 p.m., then you would make assumption that they are not going ahead for the date. And you can say that too. You can say, okay, please confirm, if you're still firm on the date, please confirm before 5 p.m. And if I'm not hearing back from you before 5 p.m., I would assume that we're not going ahead for the date, right? And I'm sure, I'm guarantee if somebody's serious and they plan for the date, they're gonna tell you before 5 p.m. or even after 10 minutes. But if somebody is sloppy, flaky, and not serious, they would not bother to respond that message, or they will miss a deadline. Unless something, extraordinary, something absolutely exceptional, maybe they, end up in the hospital, their family have some issues, and they will tell you that after. But in a normal circumstance, if people are serious, they will tell you. And if they don't tell you, you save your time, right? If somebody show you who they are, thank goodness they really show you who they are. You save your time to keep investing time on this person who are no longer or not in alignment with what you really want or what you're looking for in the relationship. So the third step is to have some boundaries and some principles in place to make sure that you can mitigate the risk of showing up and people don't show up for you, right? And same, let's say text message, right? If you send a text message and somebody don't respond you, sometimes it's being honest. If they haven't come back after a week, you can make your own decisions, whether you say, okay, I'm gonna move on, whether you move on internally or you're gonna tell them, okay, haven't heard back from the week, I assume that you are not interested, I just wish you all the best for your life and I'm gonna move on. You can either make your own decision internally or you can tell them that, right? Either way is up to you, but have some principles in place to mitigate the risk. And the 4 steps that you want to do is to continue working on your self-love. When I read these questions, I'm not sure about you, but to some people, they can associate this with shame. What do I mean by that is, so when they experience, somebody being ghosted or reject them or doing something, cheat on them or betray on them or something, right? Something that so-called undesirable outcome. The person experiencing that could associate with being shameful, because they allow those experiences to reflect on who they are, right? So it's very important it's not easy, but it's very important to constantly working on yourself and increase your self-love. because you have to make a distinctions that you cannot change other people, and how other people show up do not reflect on who you are and do not reflect on your self-worth, right? You can only control on how you show up, on how you communicate, on how you think that you values, but you cannot change or force people to do certain things. So whether somebody decide to ghost you or ghosted you, or somebody decide to reject you, somebody decide to, cheat on you, that is their business, right? It's very difficult to separate that, but it's possible. So the more you work on loving yourself, increase your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth, because you say, I give myself internal validation, and whatever I need, I'm going to give to myself, and only me can determine my self-worth, right? So my self-worth do not depends on somebody else approval, because only you can give yourself the internal validation that you need. The more you work on yourself, the more you be able to distinct or distance how other people show up affect to your self-esteem, right? So how do you do that? How do you constantly and consciously working to increase your self-love? So self-love is very big thing, but one of the exercise that I normally give to the professional women in Magnetic Women Mastery community is to work on affirmations and give yourself internal validation, right? So check in with yourself, your inner child, or your current version of yourself. What do you need from you? What do you need to hear? Whether you need to hear that, oh, I'm lovable, I am amazing, I am beautiful, I am worthy of love, I am valuable as I am. So whatever you want to hear or your inner child need to hear, you give that to yourself. And the more you increase your self-worth, how other people show up will have less effect to how you feel about yourself. Because at the end of the day, only you have the power to give yourself the internal validation. So to sum up, there are 4 big steps in this question of what do you need to change to stop getting the result of being ghosted, right? Step number 1 is focus on what you want versus what you don't want. So that's step number 1. Focus number 2 is to remove the label of being ghosted. And you want to neutralize that emotion by owning exactly what you see in others is already inside of you. And number 3, you want to have some principles or boundaries in place to helping you mitigate experience a similar experience of being ghosted, right? And number 4, you want to keep working on self-love to increase your self-love, increase your self-esteem and self-worth. Because at the end of the day, only you can give yourself the internal validation. And you want to separate on how other people show up if their business is how other people show up doesn't reflect and do not reflect on who you are as a person. So when you do that 4 steps, I'm sure you would have an absolutely different experience. Okay? And if that video is useful for you, anything that's standing out for you or resonate with you, or what is your biggest takeaway, please drop your comment in the section below. I'd love to hear from that. And I see you on the video somewhere on this screen.